This is step 3 of my 12-step program on how to not be a silly woman. What we're going to talk about today is pregnancies. The vast number of just, I don't even know what y'all be thinking, having babies with dusty men. And most of the time, I'd have to say 99% of the time, you already know he's a fool and lacking in great many ways before you decided that you was going to carry the child to term. There's a difference between just fooling around with somebody you know is dusty, your birth control game is tight, your heart is wrapped up. You're not going to let him get too involved in your existence. He's not going to be involved with your family. He's not going to be involved with your children. Okay, that's a choice that an adult woman might make. However, once you decide to have some kind of unprotected activities to where you become pregnant by a man who is stupid, then what does that mean? It makes you stupid too. So let's start with what I consider the 3 key points that you need to think about while you determine if this man is someone that you should have a child with. Number one is yourself, you. Okay, we're going to talk about you. The second thing is we're going to analyze the situation that you are currently in, that you would be bringing a child into. And then the third component of this decision making process is the man himself. My 34-year-old wife just found out she is pregnant. We got together once after a 4-month breakup. She has been abusing heavy duty narcotics for the past 2 years. We have a 2-year-old son already. She is violent, dangerous, and constantly under the influence. She harms our son, so we split up several times this year. I take our son with me. She is actively using while pregnant. I have confronted her when she told me that she was pregnant. I am thinking having a baby is a bad idea, as she can potentially harm the developing fetus. I want to bring up terminating the pregnancy, but I feel like it's a sick thing to suggest. On the other hand, I think it's a cruel thing to carry a child while using on a regular basis. I am in the biggest moral dilemma of my life. Do I support her carrying this forward as she uses, knowing the dangers and risks involved, or do I ask my wife if she will consider ending a pregnancy I am responsible for? I am 23 years old and broke things off a few days ago with an emotionally abusive 23-year-old guy I have been seeing on and off for the past 4 months. I just found out today that I'm pregnant. Do I tell him or not? I am 22 and unexpectedly pregnant by an FWB. Prior to this, I always felt like I would terminate if I ever got pregnant, but since I found out 2 weeks ago, I have been waffling in my decision. I live in a share house and just started my career as a hairdressing apprentice 6 months ago. A child would delay my career. Not only that, I rarely speak to the father unless we're looking for a hookup. I've never been one who felt becoming a mom was part of their life plan, especially with my lack of stability. However, I'm leaning more towards keeping the baby, but every morning I wake up anxious and believe I should not continue this pregnancy. I just don't know what to do. I am 27 and living with my boyfriend for 2 years. Just found out I am pregnant and looking forward to starting my family. I am tired of being the only one working and cleaning while my boyfriend plays video games and hangs with his friends all day. I love him but need him to step up and be the father figure he needs to be. He keeps telling me that he isn't ready to be a father and that I should terminate the pregnancy, but I've always wanted to have children and I love him. What can I do to make him understand that he needs to grow up and take responsibility for the child he created by getting a job and doing more around here? Okay, what kind of things should you be thinking about when you're talking about yourself? You're thinking about yourself as a person, what kind of mom would you be? Where are you in life? What kind of goals do you have for yourself? Where are you on achieving those goals? What kind of education do you have? What kind of money do you have in the bank? What is your setup where you're living? How safe would a child be in your environment? How mature are you? How educated are you? What do you have to offer a child if you still pitching around here having all kind of emotional upsets and being addicted to one thing or another, and just not wrapped too tight, making choices, being a pick Misha, just having all these different men in and out your life, in and out your heart, in and out your house. What is going on with you? Okay. If you are not a stable person yourself, that means you don't have stability to offer a child. There's no reason in this world for you to put an innocent baby that's 100% dependent on you for protection and food and everything else into a situation like that is extremely selfish, inconsiderate, and just ridiculously irresponsible. Okay. If you are a minor, you don't have any business having a child, okay? You're a kid yourself. Let's get real here. And it doesn't matter what your parents say about, oh, we'll make a way and all this kind of stuff. Think about the future that you're going to be throwing away by having a baby. Everything that you want to do is going to become a problem because it's going to be harder for you to do those things. Is it impossible? No. But why would you put that kind of weight around your neck? You're a young girl. It's time for you to fly, to have fun, to go to parties and travel and do all kinds of things to enrich yourself as a person is when you are young and child free. Why would you put yourself in that kind of noose just to have a baby that by some dusty bum that you don't need to have a child with? You have to look at yourself and say, okay, what is going on with me that I would think that this person here would be a good father? What is it that I'm just empty in my heart that I feel I need to be filled with this person, this relationship, or having a child with this person that I already can see is not dependable, that's silly, that's aggressive, that's violent. He has issues. He has issues. He doesn't know how to be a father because he hasn't had the situation like that himself. You maybe haven't had your dad in your life, so you don't even know what to look for and what role a father should play either. So now we have the blind leading the blind and bringing a child into that mix. If you have things that you want to do for yourself in your life, please do them before you have a child. If you need to get yourself straight financially, mentally, emotionally, in any other kind of way, you want to lose weight, you want to, get rid of these illnesses that you have, whatever's going on with you as a person, your health, your mental health, your physical health as well as your mental health, and where you are in life should all come into play because if you're not a mature person able to stand on your own, you have no business having a child. Let's be realistic here, okay? Another part that we need to think about, I want you to think about really hard, is the circumstances under which you live, this man lives, and that you would position for this child that you're thinking about, you want to have. Money, of course, is a big one. Some people have this attitude, well, I'll just get government assistance. No, that's not what you should be doing because of the fact that that's a very low income and you're putting yourself into a struggle situation. Now, what they do is, if you're in a situation like that, they will offer you support and it's everything. But like I said, it's very limited. If they give you some kind of housing subsidy, most of the time you're going to end up in a very kind of in the area I wouldn't want to live in. Let me just put it that way. You don't have the kind of lifestyle that would be conducive to being a good parent. Neither does dude. In a situation where you have two people who are being irresponsible, not using proper birth control. Yes, I know accidents happen. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those who intentionally go bare and skip, what they're supposed to be doing because they're just playing baby roulette. That's what you're doing. And so it's those are very irresponsible kind of behaviors. Not to mention the fact, not only could you develop a child from that, you could also develop some kind of horrible disease that you can't get rid of and you be stuck with for life. Okay, very irresponsible. So you don't have no money, you work some minimum wage job, you're trying to finish school, you living with your parents or somebody, you in a roommate situation, you don't have a car, you don't have any money to buy the child what it needs. You're going to be dependent on people to give it to you. Your relationship with your baby daddy is crazy. Y'all breaking up and fighting every other time you turn around. He's dipping and dabbing. He's cheating. He beats your butt. All kind of crazy stuff is going on. Name calling, violence, emotional and mental and physical abuse, all kinds of things. He takes your money. He brings people up in your house that you don't want in there. He does criminal stuff that's how he makes his money. And you in the car with him and you think you're going to have a baby in there and that you all will be safe. I mean, all of these kind of things are things that you ladies need to think about before you have a child with a dusty bum. What is he going to do for the kid when he's living hand to mouth by himself, sleeping on people's couches and staying at his mama's house, his auntie's house, his grandma's house? He can't provide for a child. And you want to have a kid for him, by him? The worst ones are the ones that he's got a bunch of kids from other people, and this is the situation you want to bring your baby into. He's not taking care of the kids he has, and yet you want to have another one? What is wrong with you? Why would you do that to your kid, the kid that you claim that you love and is precious to you? Why would you do that? That's the circumstances issue. So you think about that one. And the final part of issue, of these three issues I want you to think about is the father. The man that you have chosen to father your child. Who is he as a person and how is he living? I kind of touched on this a little bit because if you're a couple, his circumstances and yours there will be some crossover. But I want to focus more on who he is as a person. Like what is his belief system? Is he about family, or does he really not care about the relatives that he has and the children that he has? Is he the kind of person who shows up when you need him, or does he dip and dodge and just be irresponsible and lack accountability? Is he the kind of person who makes promises and then dips out? You can't really depend on him. Is he the kind of person that always has an excuse for everything, why stuff didn't happen the way it was supposed to, leaving you holding the bag and having to step up and not only wear his shoes, but yours too? Is he the kind of person that wants to sit around and have fun and party and drink and smoke and, play video games and stuff all day? Or is he the kind that's going to get his hustle on now that he, knows he has a goal? He's out there working 2-3 jobs, got a side hustle. He's doing everything he can to make money and elevate himself as a man, back in school, whatever. Is he doing any of that, or is he just a bum? Is he the kind of dude that moved into your house because he don't have nowhere to go? He's a hobosexual, just living off of a woman. And you think that's okay? These are the kind of guys, they want to move in. They don't even want to help pay no bills because they feel like, well, you was already paying the rent when I got here, so why should I have to contribute anything? And you let him do that. These are the kind of dudes that be in and out of jail all the time. Prison, whatever. He got out of prison, you let him come into your house. And then you decide to have a kid with him. A convict. With no real resources and very little going for himself. And it's going to be a struggle for him to get something going for himself because he has a record. This is the kind of stuff, you have to think about these kind of things. Not only do you look at him as his behaviors, you have to look at his genetics. Now, on Surviving Dating, there's an article called The Stupid MF Gene. You can take a read on that, but it basically discusses the behaviors and things that birth defects and mental defects, things that are passed along genetically, personality traits, all of those things are genetic. So you have someone with a propensity towards violence, who has mental illness running in his family, who has schizophrenia running in his family, who, everybody, they have this thing about hitting women and all this kind of stuff, and all the guys do it, and they think that that's okay. And so, you have to look at what this man is about. It's like, does he have a relationship with his father? Is he angry at his father for abandoning him? Does he have any kind of clue at all about how to be a father? Does he even care about children, or does he only care about himself? These are things that you need to think about before you get pregnant. Okay, this is why you got to do your vetting of any man who comes along, and you don't have babies with dusty ass fools. On this channel is a video where I advise women on how to control your emotions. Your emotions are the chief thing that most of you depend on to make a decision. You cannot make a decision emotionally based. You go by how a guy makes you feel in that moment. So you throw caution to the wind. You allow, you caught up in the lust and the passion and the romance and all this stuff. And the next thing you know, you're pregnant because you turned your brain off and you went with how you felt. But that means when you do stuff like that and you make those spur of the moment, spontaneous decisions to do something stupid, that means that you lack emotional intelligence. I understand that this may be harsh to some of you. It's designed to be, because this is just ridiculous and you need to do better. You can look it up. You can look up emotional intelligence. I think I even have a video or two on the channel about it. But basically, what emotional intelligence means is that you possess the ability to identify and control your emotions, as well as identify those of other people, so that you have a better response to yourself, and as well as, and to the other person. It also means that you, by assessing what you're feeling and managing your emotions, are able to make more intelligent decisions, better decisions. So studies show, I read all this kind of stuff, that people with high emotional intelligence tend to make better decisions, even in the moment where they're kind of stressed or pressured, or there's some kind of, emotional situation that they're in where somebody else might lose control. So it's very, very important that you develop your emotional intelligence. And if you're not good at that, you feel like it's too much of a struggle, the main thing for you to do is stop, slow down, and ask yourself this one question. Okay, if I do this, then what? There's definitely a video on that, because that's one of the guiding forces of my life when I make a decision. I don't just go by what I feel or what I think in this moment. I sit down and I say, okay, well, if I move here, it's like playing checkers or chess. If I make this move right here, then what's going to happen? Well, how's that person over there going to move? And then what's that going to mean for me? So you ladies, you have to teach yourself this if your parents have not done that. It's very, very important that you don't look at just what's going on right now. He said he's going to be there. He said he wants to be a father. He wants all this stuff, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. But yet okay, where's his money at? Where's the house that he's supposed to be putting you and this kid in? Where's the wedding ring that he wants to make you his wife and y'all be this, excuse me, this family he's talking about? No matter how good looking he is and how good his game is and how good his stroke is, none of those things make him a good father, a good bet to be someone's parent. That means, it might make him a fun boyfriend, but, you have to determine, using a different thought process, what kind of guy is going to make a decent father for you and your child. Now, I think the main thing here, the main problem is poor decision making. I'm sometimes wonder if people even make a decision. It sounds like they're kind of like blowing through life like a leaf tumbling down the street and with the wind. Like whatever happens, it just happens. They don't really have a plan. They don't really have a direction. They don't really have a purpose. They're just like, oh, whatever, just letting things happen as they may, and then they just deal with it. That's a very, very irresponsible. You need to learn how to figure out how to avoid making bad decisions. And of course you're going to be nervous, and there's fear that you have to deal with, and you have anxiety, and you have desire for things, and those emotions are what will push you into making a decision that's probably not going to be very good when you come out of that emotional fog that you're in. So, when you don't want to try to hide your emotions. Don't try to hide them from yourself and push them down or drink them away and all that. I want you to start to recognize what you're feeling, because if you're feeling lonely, you're feeling disconnected, you're feeling anxious about your relationship, well, that's not the time to try to figure out that, try to say, well, if we have a kid, then that's going to bring him closer to me because he'll be a fine, this is my baby daddy and all this old stuff. That has that trick ever worked? Think of all the millions of kids running around here with no father in the picture. Why would you think that that would work for you and it ain't worked in millions of other situations? The odds of that working are like microscopically anorexically slim. That's a poor decision. You gotta stop putting your emotions as at the forefront, and instead use your thought, use your brain, because that's what's going to help you find your way through life in a way that makes sense. That's going to help protect you from nonsense. It's going to be the thing that gets you away from men before they hurt you, and you can see clearly that there's red flags waving, and you shouldn't go deeper with this man. You definitely shouldn't be tied to him for life by having a child by him. There's no way away from that, because once you have that kid has his genetic lineage in it. And whatever kind of fool he was to you, your kid now has those same fool genes. Why would you do that to a child? Just so they born coming out the womb, you're already messed up and behind the eight ball. You have to think about what kind of stuff will make a guy a bad father. So let's talk about that real quick. You got a man who is absent. Okay, that's what we have a lot of in the black community. Absentee fathers. A lot of people say, well, that's because of poverty. Well, that might be that's an excuse. Because like I said, I've seen young brothers that they refuse to let their kids be, caught up with that. They do all kind of stuff, work all kind of side jobs, hustles. They work 7 days a week if they have to, because they want to provide for their child. They don't waste money on stuff like designer shoes and fancy cars. They have a little bucket. It gets them where they need to go, but their money is directed towards providing for their children. Okay, those are the guys that are right. But you got a guy he does really, he did poorly in school. Maybe he was in special ed or something. He dropped out. He used drugs. He gets involved in gangs. He's a criminal, to the point where he had to go to prison. Um, a lot of these guys don't care if their kids don't have any money. They look at it as them giving money to the mother, her taking my money, and not realizing your child needs to eat. Your child needs to have a roof over his head. Your child needs heat in the house where it lives. It needs school books and school supplies and coats and shoes. And as they grow, they need them over and over and over again. Okay, this is not a one-time thing. So you have these guys that they're horrible role models for any young man. They're abusive to women. They threaten women. They don't really think about they don't come through, like I said earlier. These are the kind of things that you need to think about. What kind of role would he play, and how would he be there or not for the child that you have? Okay, think about that. Then there's the other kind of dad, right? The ones, okay, they may physically be there. And some women have reported on the wall that they had these kind of dads. Their parents were married. The father was there every day. But he wasn't there mentally, and he wasn't there physically. He was just very inconsistent. He was unpredictable. They couldn't depend on him. They couldn't talk to him. And he just created an environment of worry and fear and inconsistency. So the kids never felt stable and secure in their home. They couldn't have any relationship with their father. So the wisdom and the companionship and the education and the bond that they should have with their dad wasn't there. Even they could look across the room and see him. Okay, that was a poor choice for a father for your children. Okay, then we have the kind of dads that, they're around, might be here and there. They might be in the house all the time, but they're abusive. They hit the mother. There may be, physical abuse, or there could even be the other kind of abuse of the children, especially the daughters. So, besides the trauma that the children would suffer with this kind of dad, they're going to grow up and they're going to have trust issues and not be incapable of really having a solid, healthy relationship. This is the kind of thing that a lot of women that we call pygmishas have had to endure growing up. They felt like in order to they have to earn the love from their father by doing things that he wants them to do. They carry that same attitude over to men. So they are easily manipulated and controlled. And they're the ones who often like to talk about, being submissive to their man and that's my king and all this old stuff here. Because they're so used to being controlled and feeling like they have to pitch around and be this perfect model child to even get a basic kind of affection and attention from the adults in their life that are supposed to be there to love them. Your father, for a daughter, the father sets creates a template for how his daughters should be treated by men. And if you have a man that beats on the little girl's mama, perhaps even beats on her, well, what do you think how is that gonna work when she becomes an adult? What kind of man is she gonna be interested in? So, she's gonna get used to that. And then she's gonna find a man who does the same thing, who thinks that, beating up women and being emotionally or physically abusive to children is normal. These kind of things will massively damage a child. And you women who are in relationships like this, you see how the guy is. Why would you have a child and put the child in a situation like that? Why would you do that? Because these men don't just magically start being abusive and controlling and evil-hearted once you're, in the relationship. I mean, once they have a kid, they've already showed signs of being that way. Either you ignored them or you didn't know what you were looking at. It's always one of them too, because they can't hide all of it. So these are the things I think, that I want you guys to think about. And I don't want you having babies with men who don't represent fatherhood 100%. Okay? They don't deserve to have their name written in the history books. They don't deserve to have a child running around looking like them, carrying their last name. They're unworthy. And it's torturing the children and it's ruining the black community with this kind of nonsense. Am I saying it's 100% your fault? No, because most of you that are listening to this right now have never considered these things. Nobody taught you this stuff. So I can't say it's your fault. But what I'm going to say here is, now that you know, go forth and you teach other people. You teach your daughters. You teach your nieces. You teach your granddaughters. You teach your sons how not to be dusty. And if we can all focus on this kind of stuff, we will have the next generation of children will be smarter, better positioned for success, happier, and more stable mentally and emotionally. I don't see that as being anything but a win-win. Let's sum things up and talk about some of the reasons why you should not have kids. This is going to basically sum up the issues that were discussed in this video and, just kind of tie together all the loose ends in case you didn't get it. You aren't sure what you heard. You need the Cliff Notes version. Here we go. If you are not financially stable, don't make kids. If you're not emotionally stable, don't have babies. If you have any kind of mental illness, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have schizophrenia, you have all this stuff going on, don't make babies. If you're underage and your little butt is dependent on somebody else to even take care of you, don't make a baby. If you in a stage in life where your main priority is partying every weekend, getting in the streets, don't make babies. If your man is a narcissist, an addict, an abusive piece of crap, a psychopath, a sociopath, a criminal, or an aggressive kind of man in any kind of way, don't make babies with him. The same applies if you're one of those on that list. If all your friends are having babies and you just want to fit in because you're feeling all left out and lonely, that's no reason to have a child. If you plan to let the kid be raised by your mama or some other family member, because all you are is the incubator of the kid and then you're going to pass it on to somebody else, don't make a kid. What are you doing? If you can't take care of yourself first on every single level, you don't have a baby. If you can't be responsible for a dog, a cat, a gerbil, a goldfish, you don't make a baby. If you think your only job is to carry the pregnancy to term and then other people are going to step up, don't make a baby. If your partner wants a baby and you're either on the fence or you know you don't want any kids, don't make a baby. If you want to try to force a man to stay with you, keep a relationship going, try to fix something that really shouldn't be fixed, don't make a baby. If you already regret having the first kid, what in the world would possess you to have a second and a third? Stop while you're ahead. If you are in any way not sure if you can make the personal sacrifices of your time and your energy and your mind and heart to raise a child, don't have a baby. There's absolutely nothing wrong with not having children your entire life in spite of what you may have heard. But there is a lot wrong with you having children when you are incapable of properly caring for them, providing for them, and guiding that child to adulthood so that they can live the best possible life that they can live. If you are lacking in any way from the things on this list or in any other way that you notice as you go along through life, either fix it before you have a kid or vow not to have any children and put them in the middle of that nonsense. It's wrong, and no, you should not be doing it. Let's be responsible with our fertility, ladies. Okay, and be very careful about the men that you decide to let father a child using your body. Okay, this is very, very important, and it's something I think more women need to think about. Stop going out here willy-nilly just having babies with any old clown. Your children are going to suffer, and so are you. This is Deb Cooper from survivingdating.com. Thank you for listening. Put any comments you may have or questions down below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can.